Today's the third, AsherYatzar.
Ruchem Aboim B'Shem Hashem B'Shem AsherYatzar. I'd like to welcome everyone to today's shir from Rabbi Yakov on Dine Bechas AsherYatzar. Bechas AsherYatzar and Halacha. Sorry, the schedule was printed out of order. So the great sponsor of the shir, please call AsherYatzar 718-851-8651, email ist@yeshivanet.com. Rav Smith.
We had an interesting shiloh with someone, Pasha forgot to make an AsherYatzar. He delayed it and he forgot. Until when could AsherYatzar be said? Or l'chatchila, is there an issa to delay the AsherYatzar? And I looked into this sugya, and before long we had literally probably close to 30 different shalos lamaisa, all about the bracha of AsherYatzar, and many in ageya on a daily basis. Another example, someone that goes to is about to wash to a meal during the week, Shabbos, no difference, and he has to use the restroom. The question is, he comes back, what's the procedure? Tils Yadayim, AsherYatzar. So we're going to use the word Yitzia, first of all to save time, there's also a lashon nikiya of going to the bathroom, going out, we'll use the word Yitzia. The kid said there was a Yitzia before a meal. What is the order for the brachas? So if you think about it, it boils down to one simple question. What is the nature of this incredible bracha of AsherYatzar? Baruch Hashem, Yidna Zoicha to many different brachas. We make a bechas ha-mitzvah. We make a bechas ha-nanan on the food that we eat. Then we have brachas that are none of the above, and that's called the bechas ha-shachar. We make brachas in the morning. In fact, very unusually so, the bracha is said even though we don't have that hana. A person on Tisha B'Av is not wearing shoes, he still makes shasoli kol tzarki. So bechas ha-shachar seems to be pretty all-encompassing. And in fact, the Goyin in Ma'aser Rav and Simon Tes says bechas ha-shachar can be said all day, even at night. It's once a day, so it's not time sensitive. Is that the way bechas AsherYatzar is? It's not time sensitive. But we have in bechas shevach v'haidah, sometimes it's very much time sensitive. The halacha is in Shulchan Aruch, in Reish Chav Zayin, that when someone hears thunder or sees lightning, he has to say it right away. Once there was a delay of even Toch Kadei Dibur, which is mamash just about a second, he can't make the bracha. So the question is, what is the nature of the bracha of AsherYatzar? And we'll soon see the biggest nafkamina, which gives us guidance for the rest of the shir, is it time sensitive? Do you have to say it right away? If it's bechas hanan, of course you have to. If it's bechas mitzvah, of course you have to. Don't forget, bechas ha-mitzvahs has to be oivel AsherYatzar. But if it's bechas ha-shachar, maybe it's not so time sensitive. So this is the focus that we have to try to clarify, and then hopefully we'll have the yisoid. So the emes is, it's definitely not a regular bechas hanan. Now I want to be careful. The truth is, when a person's digestive system works properly, it's the biggest hana in the world. If you ever want to get a chizik in saying AsherYatzar bracha, talk to someone that has a problem, any of these problems that are never extremely, extremely painful when the system doesn't work properly. No doubt about it. The Shlach calls the bechas AsherYatzar the Rosh l'chol bechas shevach, and it is. We don't want to wait till a problem that a person has, but it's the greatest hana. But it's not a regular bechas hananan. Bechas hananan, says the Magen Avram in the beginning of Reish Tes Zayin, we say when something enters the guf, when we eat something. Says the Magen Avram, light, the fact that there's fire, there's no bracha every day, it's only Motzei Shabbos. Music, a person that enjoys music, or a rechitza, taking a shower after 9 days is very great simcha. But says the Magen Avram, the yisoid of bechas hananan is only food that enters the guf. So we're pretty convinced that it's not a bechas hananan. It's more pashut that AsherYatzar is not bechas ha-mitzvah. not doing a mitzvah. But the question is, what type of Birchas HaShevach is? Is it like lightning? Is it like Birchas HaShachar? So it comes to mind, what seems to be custom made is a Ritva. The Ritva is in Psukei Memvav Amud Beis, where the Ritva says clearly, if someone is traveling and he had a Yatzir, went to the bathroom, and he has no water, he should wait up to 72 minutes to get water. So the Ritva, but if you're going to do that, you're going to delay AsherYatzar for 72 minutes? Says, yeah, ein bekach klum, ki eine birchas ha-mitzvah, v'loi birchas ha-nenen, ela birchas shevach. It's like the birchas ha-shachar. And therefore, as long as you don't forget to say it, you're allowed to delay it when there's a good reason. So the Ritva, in those few words, gave us the answer to both questions. The nature is like a birchas shevach, like an AsherYatzar. Like a birchas ha-shachar. And it's not time sensitive. But we could do better. Let's say a person slept very little, wakes up in the morning, and he doesn't have to go to the bathroom. Does he still say AsherYatzar because that's what it says in the Siddur? So believe it or not, the Ramos says what we wouldn't think like. We would think, listen, if you didn't have a Yetzir, what are you making a bracha on? Zok the Magen Avram, Zok the Ramah, in Siman Dalet Sif Aleph, do you do say AsherYatzar in the morning? V'cheinei Hagen. Now it's a pliya. If you didn't go out, why are you making AsherYatzar? Says the Drisha in the end of Siman Daled and the Magen Gibayim in Siman Daled Sif Cotton Beis, they both say the same words, Kamat. AsherYatzar is a Birchas Hoidah like Birchas HaShachar. And just like on Tisha B'Av, although we're not wearing shoes, you say Shasali Kol Tzarki. And just like a blind person says Pekeach Ivrim, so too AsherYatzar is said even if there was no Yetzir. So this is as clear as day. AsherYatzar is like Birchas HaShachar. Of course, L'chatchila, we try not to delay. Don't forget, it was Zoycha to Mafli Lasois. Give credit where credit is due right away. But L'maisa, it's not time sensitive, and it's regular like a Birchas HaShachar. Now L'maisa, the Birkei Yosef in Siman Vav Sif Cotton Gimel quotes the Arizal that the minig is not like the Ramah. If someone didn't have a Yetzir, he doesn't make AsherYatzar. But L'maisa, we do see from the Drisha, Magen Gibayim, that AsherYatzar is a Birchas HaShachar. But we could do even a little better. Imagine someone is about to make AsherYatzar and he gets a phone call. So he says, oh, I won't forget, don't worry, I'll take the phone call and then I'll say AsherYatzar. 5 hours later, he wakes up, oh, I forgot to say AsherYatzar. Now why do you remember now all of a sudden? Because he has to make a second AsherYatzar, he had a different Yetzir. So what do? He was mechuyev AsherYatzar, he forgot to say it 5 hours, now he has to make a second one. Now to say it now, before he goes out, he doesn't have a gufnaki. Zok the Beis Yosef in Siman Zayin, and he's quoting the Maria Abuha from one of the Goinim, that L'maisa, you have to make 2 AsherYatzars. Go to the bathroom and make the first and second. Where do we find making 2 in one after the other? He says it's like davening. If you forgot to daven mincha, what do? 2 Ma'arivs. No? You forgot AsherYatzar, 2 AsherYatzars after the second Yetzir. So now we have a new identity to AsherYatzar. It's like Shemon Esrei. Comes again the Bach, and the Bach says this is very hard to understand. It's almost illogical. Davening is totally in karbonos. So L'maisa, if you miss the carbon, there's tashlumin. But AsherYatzar, and this music tower is, AsherYatzar is a birchos shevach vayda. Zokti Bach. Let's say a person ate a meal and decided that's it, I'm not eating anymore, but he forgot to bench. Then he eats a second meal and he comes, oh, I didn't bench on the first meal. So you could bench once for both. What's the pshat? Because if, as long as those share equal, of course, because Bircha Shevach Vayda goes 1 on 2. So why can't the second AsherYatzar go back what he was chayiv 5 hours ago? Zok the Taz was the Bach's Aiden, don't forget, he goes, how does I swear, how's he doicha one of the goinim for this svara? He says, I don't see the raya. Benching, listen to this, benching is totally in svia. Now we only have one stomach, right? So if the first meal is there and was not yet digested, and now you put a second meal in, so one benching is for both, for the svia. But AsherYatzar zok the taz, once it was chala chiyuv 5 hours ago, you mechuyev one. Now you go again, 2 AsherYatzars. But the Paiskim do not accept the Taz. The Shilas Yayivitz and Aleph Tezvav, the Bergiyos, if you cut an Aleph, Mishtabura, and if you cut an Vav, and even the Svarish Paiskim do not go like the Mechabim. And they don't accept the Taz's understanding. And the Svara is Bechas Haidah, never miss it. That, of course, don't miss it. Don't try to put 1 and 2 into 1. But if a person has now a second Chiyuv, 1 Haidah goes for both. Mr. Brewer says, but don't delay it. That's why don't delay. Don't push it off. I'll do it in a minute. Famous last words. He wakes up 5 hours later. But the Yisoid HaDavar is AsherYatzar is a Berchos Haidah. Shevach Vaidah, and 1 bracha covers both. Maybe we could do even a little better, and that is the following ha'ara. Let's say a person comes out of the bathroom. He's about to make an AsherYatzar. And before he says anything, there's a crash of lightning, it's thunder. What goes first? Lightning and thunder or AsherYatzar? So Zoktel Yerabba, in Reish Chav Zayin, if you got involved in the Maimon Mordechai, all really, it's almost come out in the first in the Magen Avram and Reish Chav Zayin. In this case, you got to move quickly. First say lightning and thunder, and then AsherYatzar. The question is, which was Chal first? Which Chi was Chal first? AsherYatzar. You went to the bathroom first. Also, Tadir Shein the Tadir Kaidim. AsherYatzar is a few times a day. Lightning and thunder is whenever there's a storm. Zokte Pi Megadim in the end of Siman Zayin, which is Hilchos AsherYatzar, Siman Vav and Siman Zayin. Zokte Pi Megadim, the teretz is Pashut. Because lightning and thunder is time sensitive. If you don't say Teichadei Diber, you lost it. AsherYatzar, if you have a good reason to push it off, we just learned you're allowed to. But the way he says it is, AsherYatzar, there's no din of Tkifa. I mean, of course, L'chatchel you should. But really, if you didn't say it, you could say it whenever you remember. So now we see, mamish, what we're looking for. It's a Bercha Shev of Haidah, but it's not like lightning and thunder. Lightning and thunder is very time sensitive. AsherYatzar is not. So therefore we have that that lightning and thunder is a mitzvah oiveres. That takes precedence. AsherYatzar you say afterwards. So now we see, we'll post both shilas. AsherYatzar bracha is more similar to Bechas HaShachar. But l'chatchila, be a mensch. You went through a mafli lasois, say it right away. Yerucham Levovitz once said in a shmuz to Talmidim, he described in a floyus of going to the bathroom, and he said that, trust me, if a person goes and comes out and is still alive, he should send a telegram home. We spoke about many years ago. Mama, I'm okay. Now again, someone that had a problem knows exactly what we're talking about. It's the greatest chesed Hashem that things work properly. So give credit where credit is due. Don't delay. AsherYatzar should be said right away. But in Halacha, it's not time sensitive like lightning and thunder. It's more like Birchas HaShachar. So if you could say it right away, Avadi you should, but if you can't, you could say it later. Now someone asked me, if we say AsherYatzar is a Birchas HaShachar, so why do we say it every time? Let's say once a day. I told them it's a good question. We asked that question. They asked that question Min HaShamayim. In the Tshuvas Min HaShamayim, Siman Lam Medalid, one of the Bali HaTois, Rabbeinu Yankov, asked Min HaShamayim, AsherYatzar, is it every time or once a day? Because you look at the Gemara, Daf Samach Beis, it's not clear every single time. The Gemara says in the Seder HaYoim, Ki Nafil, when you leave the Beis HaKisei, you make AsherYatzar. But we don't find mefurish that every time there's a Yitzi, you make a bracha. So the Min HaShamayim replied, And I quote, Hala yadata dalat tzrichon lahaydos. 4 have to make goimel, and choyle echad mehem. Ve'ein lecha choyle godle mizeh. And he quotes a pasuk in Yeshaya, there's no greater choyle than someone that cannot relieve himself. I heard from someone, a young man that was in a car accident, they was hit by a car actually, and from the trauma, he couldn't relieve himself for a few days. He said it was Yisurei Mavas, Yisurei Iyov. So the Min HaShemayim is saying that really every time you should say a goimel, but at least AsherYatzar. So that's why it's different than a regular bechas HaShachar. Each time is a mafli lasais. Send a telegram to the bentching, thank you, AsherYatzar Saying, and that's sufficient. Now, but I wanted to say one more point, and that's the Mamshik. Mamshik is, I guess, like the Makib Patish of the Sugya. Someone asked Mamshik in Or Chaim Siman Aleph. He went to the bathroom, and he didn't say AsherYatzar right away. Could he say it later? So he mamish says it, mamish to Yisod clearly. Lightning and thunder is time sensitive. Tayachadei dibur. AsherYatzar is a birchas haydah. It could be said later. So that's the klal. The klal is we say it right away, ASAP. Don't delay it. That shows the chashivas. But if there's a good reason to delay it, as we'll soon see, then a person could delay the AsherYatzar. Now we're going to go through hopefully all the shalos that we prepared, because I think there's a lot to say and a lot that we can understand where it's coming from. I'll start with an interesting shaila. Someone was at work, and the story was that the bathroom was downstairs, but there's the only sink in the downstairs is in the bathroom. He likes to wash out of a bathroom, so he goes upstairs and he washes upstairs. Fine. On the way up, he met someone, a business associate. He started talking. So the Maisa, he delayed AsherYatzar by around 20 minutes. But he told me he thinks he was right because he didn't wash his hands yet. So since he didn't wash his hands yet, there's no chi of AsherYatzar, so you're allowed to push it off. So I told him a nice way, you made 2 important mistakes, simple mistakes. First of all, Magen Avram says in Siman Daled Sifkat and Yud Ches, don't push off washing your hands for AsherYatzar. Because there's a ruach ra on the hands, and don't keep ruach ra on necessarily. Now, Lamaisa, it's not as intense of a ruach ra like in the morning, because in the morning you have to wash 3 times with a keli dafka. As we'll soon see, after the bathroom, Magen Avram says in Siman Zayin, is lav dafka with a keli and lav dafka 3 times. Now, many b'soichem we do use a keli and wash 3 times, but mikidin is no chiyuv. But it's still a ruach ra, and don't keep ruach ra on your hands. So that was one mistake. Don't push off the washing. And number 2, his whole premise was incorrect. He assumed that the chi of AsherYatzar comes from the washing. That's like the tilas yadayim comes from the washing, but that's wrong. The AsherYatzar comes from the yitziyah, the mafli lasais. The washing allows you to make the bracha. Varaya, if someone is traveling and he has no water, and he goes from Meraglayim and doesn't touch a makom mechusa, mi'ikadadin, he's allowed to wash, he's allowed to make a bracha without washing. So it's not the washing's mechayiv, it's the mafli lasois that's mechayiv. So don't delay the netilah after bathroom because of ruach ra, and don't delay the AsherYatzar because that's when you'll say it right away. Now I just wonder out loud, let's say a person should not delay AsherYatzar, but Lamaisa, as we'll soon see, it's correct, it's proper to dry your hand before you say AsherYatzar, because that's Nikiyas. So as he's drying, he wants to talk to his friend. Is there any problem of being mafsik between washing for AsherYatzar and saying it? In other words, you're not allowed to talk after washing before bread, but that's because it's a bechas ha-mitzvah. Maybe there's no din of a hefsik between washing for AsherYatzar and saying AsherYatzar. So I looked into it, I didn't find it mefurish. I did find, which we all know, Gemara, take of the Netilah bracha, goes on till Sedayim for bread. Some say it goes on Mayim Achronim for benching, but I didn't find the third takev. So theoretically, you're allowed to talk, I think, unless I'm wrong, you're allowed to talk as long as you don't delay the AsherYatzar. Right after your hands are dry, make the AsherYatzar. Okay. Important question on a daily basis. When should the morning AsherYatzar be said? So I'll give you a little of the choices. A person wakes up in the morning, so he washes negavas. Theoretically, he can make the bracha then, but he doesn't have a gufnaki. Goes to the bathroom, gets dressed, bekitza, he washes a second time. After the bathroom, after he washes, after he gets dressed, should he say AsherYatzar Saying then? Or like some do, they say it in shul. So the emes is that in svara, why not say it right after you wash? Why say AsherYatzar Saying in shul? I mean, Tilas Yadayim is a bigger player. Tilas Yadayim all agree is a bechas ha-mitzvah. Do we make the bracha on lulav at home and we shake it in shul 3 hours later? We don't do that. So why make the Tilas Yadayim at home and make the bracha in shul? Like for what reason? Plus, AsherYatzar also. You came out of the bathroom, as soon as you can, wash your hands and make the bracha. So the Alpi Svara, you should say both brachas at home when you're ready, when you're all clean, your hands are clean. Elokai Neshama is supposed to be smucha to AsherYatzar, so adrabah. Say Tilas Yadayim, AsherYatzar, Elokai Neshama. The bechas hashachar, that you could say in shul. But why not say it at home? So, Bishleima, the Heilig Elohim Dei Torah, to all of you that wake up early in the morning to learn. So there's a reason to push this for a different reason. I'll tell you why. Because those that learn, especially if there's a longer learning program, and they have a coffee, so typically, many people, their routine is that they have to go to the bathroom a second time before davening. So then the Paiskim say there's a reason to push off the Tilas Yadayim for the Netilah in shul. Why? Because Tilas Yadayim is the bracha on the washing before davening. So you woke up, let's say 4:30, and you come to shul, then it's 6 o'clock, 6:30, whatever, 7 o'clock, he davens. So which Netilah is before the davening? The one in shul, after you're learning. So then the Tilas Yadayim bracha should be said in shul. That taka makes sense. AsherYatzar bracha, how do you have to say in shul? Because you went out, the Yatzar was in shul. But don't lose sight that right after you wash at home, say the first AsherYatzar. That's not included in the second one. So if you do everything at shul, remember the first AsherYatzar is said at home. Doesn't have to be together until the time, not a package deal. So that's pashut. But what's interesting is, for those that don't learn, they get ready at home, wash their hands, go to shul, and make the brachas there. It's a little strange, why not say it at home? And again, most people do say it at home. But I did find a minig, and it's a minig that's quoted in the Rishonim, that since Lamaisa, it is a part of bechas hashachar, you're allowed to be mesader it in shul. The Ritva in Moed Katan Davav Mad Beis, Kamat says beferish that the minig is the Masada, the AsherYatzar in shul. Now this is a bit for l'shitasa. You realize we said earlier that it's not mamish ASAP, but it's more than that. Since we explained that AsherYatzar is a bechas hashachar, you're allowed to put it in bechas hashachar. So even though you're delaying it a few minutes, it's okay. The Tilas Yadayim is also that we can understand. You're saying it in shul because you're about to daven. So either the Menhagim is correct. Also, I should mention the Archas Chaim in Hilchas Me'ah Brachas, Siman Dalet, and Siman Tezayin. Also a Rishon, he said also the minig was to say these brachas in shul. So the minig, both Menhagim have a makar, but the minig that people say it in shul after a second Yitzia, don't forget the first AsherYatzar at home, don't miss even one bracha of AsherYatzar. So that's basically that Menhagim. Question, someone is in the middle of psukei dezimra. I'm going to order shulchan aruch. He's in the middle of psukei dezimra and he has to go out. He comes back. He wonders, do I say AsherYatzar in the middle of psukei dezimra? So the emes is, there is a hefsek problem in the middle of psukei dezimra. Because don't forget, the Baruch Shem is the bracha rishayna, Yishtabach is bracha achrona, and keep it as a package. The question is AsherYatzar enough of a reason that you're allowed to say it takif, or wait till after davening, till after Shemona Esrei? So you might say, well, you could wait, but it's hardly convincing. First of all, lechatchila, we say it right away. And waiting 15-20 minutes, Shabbos even longer, is wrong. Also, you might forget it till to get to Shemona Esrei. After Shemona Esrei especially. But an interesting svara is, maybe it's not a hefsek. Because psukei dezimra is all about shevach vaydah. The Rosh Shevach up the Shla is AsherYatzar. So it fits in beautifully into Psukei Dezimra. Where do we find such a svara? Mr. Brewer says, and that's halacha l'maisa. During Psukei Dezimra, you could say any amen. Just don't say bרכו ברך שמיים. Any davar shebekdusha. So maybe AsherYatzar blends in. But there's another heta. In Shulchan Aruch Kuf Gimel Sif Aleph, someone Milish Manesra, pardon me, has to pass gas. So there's a special tefillah to say, we boy in Elamim, and it's almost like he's apologizing how he did this in Milish Manesra. So the Mishnah points out, Oima is even during Shemay Esra. A tefillah during Shemay Esra says once you move seconds for Oimid by passing gas, you're allowed to say the tefillah. So once you went out to the bathroom, say AsherYatzar. And that seems to be correct. In fact, the Ginas V'rodim, one of the earlier Paiskei Svarad, in Soif Klal Aleph, he has this shayla. He says, Chaviva mitzvah b'shaita applies to AsherYatzar. Don't delay it. I have sick. He says, Ayin Siman Kuf Gimel. That's Svar. Now, the Chayodim has a chiddush in Klal Chof, Sif Gimel, and he wants to say, you're allowed to answer Amen, Kaddish and Kedusha, but not AsherYatzar. Because AsherYatzar, you have the prerogative of saying it after Shemay Esra. Okay, wait, this is what he says. Now, it's a chiddush. The Halacha wonders, he says, why are you waiting? You might forget. You might have another Yitzia. So he rejects the Chayodim. Rav Moshe in Chelik Dalet, Simon Yudal, Givus Moshe, for some reason does embrace the Chayodim. He says, you're not going to forget, it's not a long time, you're not going to have a new Yitzia. He says, you could do like Mr. Brewer, you could do like the Chayodim, V'chein ani noyeg, like the Chayodim. So Rav Moshe would push off AsherYatzar, wouldn't say it during Psukei Dezimra, and say it after Shemay Esra. I think the Minig HaOlam is like the Mr. Brewer says, that don't delay it, say it right away. So now Mr. Halacha does say, if you're saying it during Psukei Dezimra, say it bein perik leperik, in between Halalukas. What you asked is a good point. I thought of that point also. Really, the best place to say it is after Yishtabach. Between Yishtabach and Kaddish is sort of like the least hefsek. The Ramah in the end of Simon and Dalet says, when they had problem with people that didn't behave, they would announce things about him, ben yishtabach liyotzah. That's the least hefsek, even less than Psukei Dezimra. Because you finished the noch bracha, yishtabach, but no one says it, I'm not sure why, maybe because it's waiting too long. Now, Eitzah Toiva, whenever you're delaying AsherYatzar, put a reminder in the Siddur after Shemay Esra. You can write AsherYatzar or Shabbos, you can write, put a tissue in, but don't, if you are delaying it, if you go with Rav Moshe, Chayodim, Eitzah Toiva, put a reminder that should remind you. What's interesting is the Chayodim who says to delay AsherYatzar till after Shemay Esra, the same Chayodim says, but if it's lightning or thunder, you're allowed to say it during Psukei Dezimra. In fact, some say, you even allowed to say it during Birchas Krishma, which it is a hefsek, but it's shvachi shel makah. Okay. Now, during Birchas Krishma, as I told you, l'chatchila we don't say anything except for Kaddish, Yesh Meirabah, and that's why even the Mishnah Berurah that holds you allowed to say AsherYatzar during Psukei Dezimra says, but AsherYatzar you say after Shemay Esra. Don't forget, we don't have the starkest svara that AsherYatzar is part of Psukei Dezimra, because it's not part of Birchas Krishma. It's totally out of place. So the Mishnah Berurah in Samach Vav, Sifka and Chav Gimel, says the minig is to wait until after Shemay Esra. The Paiskim do concede, if someone has a nature that he might have to go to the bathroom again after Shemay Esra, say it even during Birchas Krishma. Why? Because then it's a mitzvah iveres. And a mitzvah iveres we have to say. In other words, if you're afraid you're going to either forget AsherYatzar or have a new chiyuv, so AsherYatzar is like lightning and thunder, or Kedusha, or Kaddish, mitzvah iveres, you have to say even during Birchas Krishma. Now, interesting question, which Lamaisa, someone asked correctly. he did not say AsherYatzar during psukei dezemra or Birchas Krishma. It's not a game, either one. He delayed it till after Shemini Esrei. And then it occurred to him, maybe he can no longer say AsherYatzar, because the AsherYatzar bracha concludes Roifei Chol Basu Mafli Lasois, and Roifei Chol Am Yisrael is close enough. Maybe he was Yatzar, the AsherYatzar, with Roifei Chol Am Yisrael. I'll say, where'd you get this idea from? So that will be fine. The Bechadash says if someone skipped Birchas HaShach because he was late, he shouldn't say Hamachzon Neshama is Lefgar Mason, the bracha L'kai Neshama, because he's Yatzar with the bracha Mechaya Mason, if it's close enough. So he thought maybe Roifei Chol Am Yisrael is close enough to Roifei Chol Basar. So I told him, Iba Yisei Makra, Iba Yisei Masvar. First of all, Iba Yisei Makra, not a pasuk of course, but all the poskim say that if you don't say it during Birchas Krishma, say it after Shemini Esrei. No one thought of your Einfall. But what's the Svara? So Iba Yisei Masvar. There's a story printed in all the Svarim, it's a true story, where a guy came to the Yaris of Ashton, the Rabbi Yonason, and he was all upset. He says, you Jews pray every day for yourselves and don't think of mankind, because you say Roifei Choyle Ama Yisrael and you exclude non-Jews. It's not nice. So Rabbi Yonason says, you don't understand. The Roifei Choyle Ama Yisrael is in the 8th bracha of Shemini Esrei, which corresponds to the 8 days of Mila. 8 days you wait till Mila. We Jews subject our children to a dangerous Mila. We need the Roifei Choyle Ama Yisrael, so he should recover. But we pray for you in a bracha that we say more than 3 times a day, maybe. Roifei AsherYatzar, Roifei Chol Basu Mafli Lasois. So we didn't exclude you, but Roifei Choyle is irrelevant because you don't have Mila. So when the guy walked out, he told Samidim, that was a pretty good Einfall. I just thought of that. But the real teretz is Roifei Choyle Ama Yisrael is the Baruch Shalom heals Yidden Shaloi K'derech HaTeva. The Baruch Shalom is, like the Rabbi used to call him, Dr. Roifei Neman. Baruch Shalom is a wondrous doctor, 24/7. You could contact him. That special hashgach is only for Yidden. Roifei Chol Basu Mafli Lasois is for Goyim. So I was thinking, now let's think, which is a better bracha, a bigger shevach to the Baruch Shalom? Roifei Chol Am Yisrael or Roifei Chol Basu Mafli Lasois? So I think that both have milas. I don't know which is bigger. Roifei Chol Am Yisrael in Eichos is a bigger bracha. It's like a derech hateva. Roifei Chol Basu Mafli Lasois in Kamos includes Goyim. So each one has a milah. But I think it's enough that we could say you can't be Yatzar Roifei Chol Basu Mafli Lasois Roifei Chol Am Yisrael. You didn't include Goyim. Plus the whole nusach is different. And Lamaisa, I found this. Something similar to this, the Halacha Shleima in Perek Ches Siman Sif Tezvav. Someone asked him, a little fashlafen obviously, and during Shemini Esrei he said, Baruch Atah Hashem, Roifei Chol Basu Mafli Lasois. I hope he wasn't a Shliach Tzibur, but I heard that happen once also. What do you do? So sometimes you're not Yatzar. If you change Torah Chedibah, fine, if not you have to daven over that bracha, because it's a different nusach. So Lamaisa, we're going to say that Lamaisa, even though you daven, you're allowed to say AsherYatzar afterwards. Next question, moving on in Shulchan Aruch. In Shulchan Aruch, Ksim and Kuf Yud Tziv Vav, the Mechaber recommends, it's not a chiyuv, quoted by Rottenberg, that when you say Tfilas HaDerech, which does not begin with a psicha, try to make a smucha l'chaverta. In other words, eat some cake, make an alamichya. It's a bracha arucha, Taisis and Psachim, Kuf Dalet says. So a bracha arucha links and connects to the AsherYatzar. So you have a bracha smucha l'chaverta. Now, the question is, let's say you don't want to eat. You ate enough. Can you say AsherYatzar and connect that to Tfilas HaDerech? In other words, in a certain sense, AsherYatzar is a mailah. See, some people make a bar nefashos and they say Tfilas HaDerech. It's not perfect. It's not really right. Because to have a smucha chvarat, you have to have a bracha arucha. Bar nefashos is not a bracha arucha. But AsherYatzar is. Baruch Atah Hashem, you start, and you end with a chasima. So I found Reb Shlomo Zalman in Halacha Shleima told the story, it's an Amid Reish and Gimel, that Rav Shach once asked Shem Zalman that he goes from Bnei Brak to Shalayim, and I guess he doesn't want to eat. People don't want to eat when they don't have to. Could he use the AsherYatzar bracha smucha l'chaverta? So Shem Zalman says, I have to tell you the truth. My minig is that when we go from Bnei Brak to Shalayim, or vice versa, we don't make tefillas haderech. God, that was the minig of the Brisker Rav. So I was very disappointed because that's where the piece ended, and he didn't address the main question: can you use AsherYatzar as a smucha? But the emes is the Mishnah Berurah discusses it in Siman Kuf Yud Sid Katan Chaf Hey. Mishnah Berurah says you should eat or drink and say bracha Achorona. Maybe drinking is wine or something that is a main gimel. Or yatil mayim yivarach AsherYatzar. So Mishnah Berurah already says it. AsherYatzar is a valid smucha l'chaverta. The only question is that the logistics. Because typically you leave your house, use the bathroom right before you leave your house, you get in the car, you drive to the Outer Bridge Cross, wherever you're going to Lakewood or Muncie, whatever it is, you know where to say it, but you don't say it when you walk out the door, so there's going to be a delay. So I found in Shilas Rav, at the Chaim Kanievsky's Shalos and Shuvas Chelgav, Amid Reish Mem Aleph, someone asked him, can he delay AsherYatzar by a few minutes, 10 minutes or more? He'll say it, he'll go to the bathroom, get in his car, drive a few minutes, and he's ready to say Tfilas HaDerech, he'll say AsherYatzar, and right after that, the Tfilas HaDerech. So Chaim said yes, because it's not mamish ma'akiv tekev u'miyad. You have a good reason to push it off. Now, on the bottom, someone asked him, but we'll soon see, both say it right away. He goes, yeah, that's if there's no reason to delay it. But here's the reason. You want to get a smucha l'chavert. So Lamaisa, that's why Halacha, you could, if you have a short interval, you could use the AsherYatzar as smucha l'chaverta. If you're leaving your house, you're still in the city, you can't see tefillas haderech. No, it depends where you are. If in the mountains, you leave your bungalow and you go onto the highway. That's where it's negaya. But the interesting is the Bir Halacha points out that the Maram Rutenberg was the one that suggested smucha l'chaverta, and the same Maram Rutenberg in Siman Zayin and Hilchas AsherYatzar is the one that insists that don't push it off. So, you know, you want to be Yatzar his chumrah, don't violate his other din. So do things properly. Question, moving on to Ma'ariv. Now this is a typical question. People come rushing into Ma'ariv after learning, whatever, and they want to chat Ma'ariv, which they heard Baruch. So far so good. Problem is, they had just come from the bathroom, and then it's AsherYatzar yet. So now he's holding after Baruch, didn't say AsherYatzar. When did he say AsherYatzar? So Mr. Berurah and Reish Lam Bavav Sif Katan Aleph does not discuss this question, but he's concerned about something that unfortunately we see. He says, saying Baruch is like starting Berchas Krishma. Once you start, you can't talk. He says, I see people that they answer Baruch and they continue talking. I guess they hold, Isaac by various patim and a mitzvah, and they keep on talking. He says, it's wrong. Once you say Baruch you have to stop talking. Now that same svara applies to AsherYatzar. Once you said Baruch you're in B'chas Krishma, and you can't say AsherYatzar. You have to put a reminder in your siddur and say it after Shemay Nesra. I'll say, I'll be a lamdin, I'll say the Baruch not b'toiras beginning of B'chas Krishma, I'll say it as an aniyah, like I'm walking by a shul, I hear Baruch I answer. So then you could say AsherYatzar. But the problem is, then you had a Ma'ariv without Baruch. Many people would not daven Ma'ariv unless hearing a Baruch. Not afterwards, before. The Baruch has to precede B'chas Krishma. So if you do that, you're losing more than you're gaining. So basically, the best thing is say Baruch as an aniyah, say AsherYatzar, and then catch another minyan, if you can. But if there's no other minyan, then say Baruch, B'chas Krishma, Shemay Nesra, and say AsherYatzar afterwards. A common Musaf Rosh Hashanah question, with a long Musaf, and we don't talk for those hours. People ask, can I say AsherYatzar, which is common during the long Musaf? The answer is yes. Because even though we're not mafsik, but it's not a real din of hefsik. The bracha was chal on the Kiyas Miyushin. It's a hiddah, it's a chumrah, a wonderful chumrah. But AsherYatzar is also important. So AsherYatzar can and should be said. Don't wait till after Musaf is over, hours later, a lot going on in between. Say it right then and there. Bedikas chametz, people make a long bedika, they have to go to the bathroom. So come back, you say AsherYatzar, because the bracha was chal on the tchilas bedika. Someone asked a question, which is extremely common, and that is he went to the bathroom, came out, and he's about to start a meal. Shabbos, a weekday, nanagayim. He's making an amoitzi meal. What is the right procedure? So let's look at this person. He has a challenging agenda. He has to make 2 netilas and 2 brachas. Tilsdayim, AsherYatzar. What's the order? So one thing in logic dictates that the AsherYatzar goes first. First of all, the chiv AsherYatzar was chal first. He went to the bathroom before he ate eating the bread. And number 2, tada sheina tada koidem. Especially in America, who washes during the week. But AsherYatzar is more tada than the tilas yadayim. But the problem is, so how are we going to proceed? So this is why the poskim say, what you might do is wash with a keli, say AsherYatzar, then you can't wash again because your hands are clean. Then scratch your hair, touch a mechusa, and then wash again and make a bracha. Zok the Mishtabura in Kuf Samachay. It's interesting, the Mechaber devotes a whole sim in Kuf Samachay to this shaila. Zok the Magen Avram, you can't do that. Once you wash properly and your hands are clean, so make a moitzi. But you want to wash again, so you go in bracha she'ena tzricha. So Magen Avram takes exception with the shla. The shla says to touch a makam mechus. He goes, no, you can't do that. You've been going bracha she'ena tzricha. You don't need that second netilah. So that's not an option. So what is the option that the Mishtabur recommends? That's the minig of Roiv ha'olam. You come out of the Beis HaKisei, wash without a keli. Even though you're always makpid. But this is a different situation. Wash without a keli. Dry your hands al snakiyas and also al tilas yadayim. Then you could start like a regular tilas yadayim for bread. Because you weren't yatzar for bread without a keli. So you have both brachas in the right order and everything is fine. That is the minig of Roiv Klal Yisrael. The Shulchan Aruch does recommend, does allow a different minig, especially for those that are makpid to dafka use a keli for every AsherYatzar, to wash for bread properly, then make the bracha al tilas yadayim. So far so good. Dry your hands, and then in between the netil and amoitzi, say AsherYatzar. Why is that okay? For 2 reasons. Number 1, Dr. Mr. Bura, the AsherYatzar is not a hefsik mamish. It's part of the netila, because you have to make a netila for the bathroom. But more than that, I don't know why it doesn't say, but more than that is more pashit. Between netila and amoitzi is a siman kuf samach vav. The mikadin is not really a hefsik. It's 2 separate mitzvahs, tilas yadayim and amoitzi. Just we are noyig not to talk, but we do say amen and answer other things when important. So therefore, the second option would be wash with a keli, v'ilchas tilas yadayim, make the bracha, dry your hands, AsherYatzar, and then amoitzi. This the Chazon Ish did because he was makpid to always use a keli for every AsherYatzar, and that would be the right way to do it. Now, l'maisa, what's interesting is that many people do what I didn't mention, and that is wash for bread, don't say AsherYatzar, make a moitzi, take a bite, swallow, and make AsherYatzar right then and there. Zok the Mishtabur calling the Rabbi, that's wrong. You can't push off AsherYatzar for no reason. So the question is, you push off AsherYatzar from Birchas Krishma until after Shemini Esrei. That could be 20 minutes and maybe on Shabbos even longer. But for a minute and a half, but a moitzi and in swallowing, that's a problem? Teretz says yes. Because in Shachris, we have no other eitzah. We have to push the Shemini Esrei. But here, what's the eitzah? You can't say it, push it off. You have a better eitzah. Say it, wash without a keli, like we said, or wash, dry your hands, and make AsherYatzar. Although the Mekar Chaim, the Chavos Yair, and Simukov Samachay says, it's good eitzah. He likes that eitzah. Wash, make a moitzi, and swallow. But that's not what the Mishnah Berurah says, and that should not be done. Now, the next question, what we see for Agav is that AsherYatzar is a little bit funny situation. Mitzad echad, it's very time sensitive. Even to say it after Hamaitzi is no good. But l'idach gisa, when there's a good reason, you can push it off even for a long time. We could push it off for 72 minutes, we saw from the Ritva. Because that's the right approach. Don't delay when possible. Next question. A person is about to make a bracha achrona, or benching, and he has to use the restroom. So you can't make a bracha if you don't have a guf naki. So he goes out, comes back. What's the order of brachas? AsherYatzar or bracha achrona? So l'maisa, AsherYatzar is tadir, and it should go first. And indeed, the Marshal and Simon Tzadik Zayin and the Chuvas has this very shaila, and he says AsherYatzar goes first for two reasons. First of all, tadir sheina tadir kaidim, and then he says another cheshbon. He says, which is a bigger chiyuv, AsherYatzar or bracha achrona? Now, who are we to say which is a bigger chiyuv? But he does say it. He says the bracha achrona is only said if you had a shear, a kazayis minimally. AsherYatzar, I feel tipa achas. There's no shear. So therefore, it's a bigger chiyuv. And therefore, Zok the Marshal, the bracha of AsherYatzar goes first. And that's all the Paiskim, to my knowledge, no one says differently. Mishnah Berurah, Magen Avraham, all quote this. The little of a tzorchi and Zok the Kiva Ega in Siman Zayin on the Shulchan Aruch, let's say you went out before benching. Maybe benching, which is the Raisa, outweighs the tadir of AsherYatzar. V'tzorchian. But the Paiskim, I got to found the Makar Chaim who lived before B'kiva Egan, Kuf Samachay, he says, he quotes the Marshal, Bernafashais, Al Michya, and benching is delayed until after AsherYatzar. The Chayr Svara is, Tadish Eina Tadish Adaraisa Dikadin. And that seems to be the minig. I saw this, the Mas Cholamachnes, the Teres Chaim, Kafa Chaim. Even benching is only is before, AsherYatzar said before benching. Tell you a beautiful shaila. Someone whose minig is to make a bracha on the talis, special Shabbos tzitzis, talis cotton for Shabbos. So typically he goes to mikvah or takes a shower, whatever it is, and he puts on the Shabbos tzitzis. When he comes out, he washes his hands, he makes the bracha on tzitzis. Well, this Erev Shabbos, he had to use the restroom. He comes out to wash his hands, and he has two brachas to make. Tzitzis and AsherYatzar. What's the order? We would say Avada Tashen Tadeh. But I saw a correct approach in the Imrei Shalom Chelik Beis Simon Beis. No, this case you have to make tzitzis first. Why? Because really you're supposed to make a bracha on tzitzis oivel asiyasam. But you have no choice. You're in the mikveh. You're in a shower, so you can't make the bracha right away. But there's every moment you're wearing tzitzis below bracha is wrong. In fact, he doesn't quote the Mashal, but the Mashal in a different shuv in Simon Samaches says an Avain God will do a mitzvah without a bracha. So the chiyuv of making a bracha is immediate. AsherYatzar could wait. And therefore he says you have to make the birchas ha-mitzvahs and then birchas AsherYatzar. And I would add, you know where else we do that? Every single morning. Which goes first, Netilas Yadayim or AsherYatzar on a regular morning? AsherYatzar's tadir. Birchas ha-mitzvahs is more pressing, is more time sensitive, and that goes first. Then I thought, a person that comes home after Ma'ariv Matzoi Shabbos goes out. Which goes first, Havdalah or AsherYatzar? So this is simple, because AsherYatzar lechatchila is time sensitive. To push it Havdalah, adarabah, push it off the better you are. Ma'achrin latzes. Question: someone before he lit their Chanukah, had everything ready, he had to go out to the bathroom. Comes back, what goes first? So that's Pashut. AsherYatzar goes first. Tadish Eina Tadir, and again, it's more of a chiyuv than the Ner Chanukah. Then yet the chiyuv did not yet start because he didn't light. Until when, if a person forgot to make an AsherYatzar, until when can AsherYatzar be said? So this is interesting. The Ben Ish Chai in Vayetze says a half hour, not more. I don't know exactly why, but we did see from the Ritva. Ritva says 72 minutes. Pashtus is even more. Marach Arzurua and Simon Kufal asks, how long can you say AsherYatzar? He says, we don't know. But it seems that most Paiskim are comfortable to say believe it or not, AsherYatzar can be said unless he has a new Yitzia. Let's go again. And the Svar is Pashut. Once we assume it's a bרכת השחר, why can't it have the characteristic of bרכת השחר? As long as you didn't have a new chiyuv. And that's what the Mishnah seems to paskin like, and it seems Pashut Azoi, in Siman Zayin, Sif Katan Aleph. He says, as long as you remembered before you had another need, the Kamarna in Shulchan Atar, Siman Vav, Sif Aleph, he's mamish convinced. He says, what's the problem? You could say it even hours later, even days later. Because it's a chiyuv bracha. In fact, someone asked, according to that, about tshuva, when he becomes from, should have to make up thousands of brachas. But that could be, it has a din of tashlumin somewhat, but that's not done. No. But Lamaisa, as late as, even if you remind yourself later, you can say AsherYatzar as long as no chiv no new yitzia. Once he did go out a second time, then we go back to the halacha, only one bracha, he lost it. I will never forget, I was by Kfura, by a lechem of a Karav of mine, a close Karav. They lost a 1.5-year-old child, it was a terrible tragedy. Right after the Kfura, the mother of this 1.5, his mother just buried her child, comes over to me, can I say AsherYatzar now? And I was mamish moved to tears. Mika Amcha Yisrael. Bernstein, like, where'd you get such children from? Her cheshbon was incredible. Apparently she went to the bathroom before the Kfura. After the Kfura, but she didn't make an AsherYatzar, obviously, because an Oinen does not make brachas. Now she wanted to know, could she make the AsherYatzar? She still has the benefit. It's a ferisha halacha. What's interesting is the Pesachei Tshuva in Yeridei, Shin Mem Aleph Sif Katan Hey, has two shilas. One, an Oinen that ate right before the Kfura, but they couldn't bench, because you're not allowed to bench as an Oinen. After the Kfura, he still feels full. So he's mechuyev to bench. Why? The benching is not on the achila, it's on the sviyah. And who adin zok the Pesachei Tshuva, quoting derech HaChaim, if he went out, couldn't make a bracha because he was an Oinen, then you make, as long as there's no new need to make a new AsherYatzar, you can make the AsherYatzar then. So it's Pila Ployim, Taka the Paiskim say this. I saw that the Betzina Rav has two tshuvas, Ve'alocha and Siman Ayin Aleph, Sif Katan Aleph says this. An Oinen could theoretically make the AsherYatzar that he couldn't say earlier, as long as there's no new need for a new Yitzia. Question, a person wakes up in the middle of the night, especially for women attending children, they have to go to the bathroom, but they're tired, whatever. Can you delay the AsherYatzar until the next morning and include it in the morning AsherYatzar? So if the Mishnah and Siman Dalet, if you've gotten Gimel, it doesn't work. Because that's a new Yitzia. Now, it is difficult, especially people that wake up early in the middle of the night and they're half asleep. But Rabbi said we have to remember how important AsherYatzar is. You know, waking up early morning because there's a blockage, so to speak, and you have to run to the emergency room is much more challenging. So if things are going well, thank the Roifei Nemon and make the bracha, do it right, wash your hands, and say the bracha properly. In the camp we had the shaila, people have to go to the bathroom, but they don't come back, they get dressed, they'll say it after swimming. Famous last words. After swimming, you're going to remember, you're not going to remember. So put on a robe, at least, a robe and a yarmulke, wash your hands, and make the bracha properly. A tricky question, someone said a mapil, and then you have to go to the bathroom. Can you make a AsherYatzar after a mapil? Because presumably we're not mafsik after a mapil. So the Chazon Ish in Dinim and Haggis in Siman Ches Sif Zayin said you can't be mafsik after a mapil. So there's no choice, you have to wait till the morning. Rav Sternbuch and Chelik Dalet Siman and Zayin wonders, how could this be? After a mapil we don't talk chatchila, but we do hold the Miyakid Din HaMapil is a bircha shevach Amanagah Shalayla. So even if you're mafsik, it doesn't take away from the hamapil, as long as you're going to sleep. And that's why Lamaisa, the minig ha'olam is that if there's a need, the person forgot to say Sfira, or forgot to have a מעריב, or say AsherYatzar, we have so many of these type of shilas, but it doesn't make a difference. Something that's important, you're allowed to say after hamapil. But I found classic, Reb Chaim Kanievsky was asked in the end of the Seif Ish Yisrael, Ois Reish Pei, this shaila, he said, what's the problem? Sleep for 2 minutes, wake up, make AsherYatzar. See, a person that his life was one Torah machine, his whole Ramachevav Shasagida was Torah, he could do that. Program it 2 minutes, AsherYatzar. But for the rest of us, I guess that's something that's out of our range. The last group of questions is the actual recital of the bracha, which is probably most important. So the main thing is, let's do it right. It's an extremely chashuv bracha, a meaningful bracha. But basically, we wash our hands, again, 3 times with a keli is not a chiyuv, but it's recommended, akapanim. Wash with a keli, dry your hands, and then say AsherYatzar. Even though wet hands are not ma'akiv, but it's not nikiyas. It's not fine, it's lacking in finesse. Also, not to dry your hands as you're saying the bracha, because twice in Shulchan Aruch, at the end of Kuf Pei Gimel and Kuf Tzadik Aleph, we find you're not supposed to do anything during a bracha. I remember I had a teacher in high school, he would say, I want your undivided attention. And we would say, I'm mechuyev to give my undivided attention. Good time. But it comes to brachas, we don't do anything. In fact, it's better nothing than saying a bracha while you're doing something else. What's my raya? It's a siman of Shulchan Aruch. Kuf Tzadik, it's a Gemara. Kuf Tzadik Aleph, Sif Aleph, Mechaber said that a poyel, because he's working on his boss's time, abbreviates the benching and doesn't say the fourth bracha. Fred, the Bach and all the Achronim, so say it as you work. Isn't it better than nothing? No, it's not better than nothing. Doing a bracha and saying a bracha and doing something else, a lack of chshivas. So not to dry your hands as you're making the bracha. Now some say it maybe it's a tzorich of the bracha, lichashleim reish nun ches, but it's definitely better to say the bracha after you dried your hands. Lamaisa, there is a question, do you have to stand or can you sit during AsherYatzar? Good question. Lamaisa, there's no din standing or sitting. The ikka is levachi chaven libay. The Pri Megadim does write that it's a maila to say bechas shevach vaydah standing. So there is a maila. But I would like to add, some people standing by the bathroom, people, a lot of traffic going in and out, it's not conducive for kavanah. So I once told someone, what you could do? Don't make the bracha AsherYatzar by the bathroom. It's, there's too much going on. Go back to your seat, your stand, the yeshiva, and start shuckling away. People think you're learning, and say AsherYatzar. You could say it loud, you can do what you want. Now I hope there's no gnevas das, but lamaisa, there's more kavanah sitting, so sit. To stand in a Rosh Hashanah, people are walking by, maybe is lacking in kavanah. Can you say AsherYatzar as you're walking up the steps, home? So if someone, quote, wants to say it then to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, don't. You don't kill AsherYatzar. If he feels that he's saying it outdoors and you see the nefloyis habayri, no. But if it's just a way of turning it into a tefillas haderech, quote unquote, and getting rid of it, that's the wrong attitude. In the middle of AsherYatzar, it happens quite often, you come in just to hear bרכו. Can you say bרכו or Kedusha during AsherYatzar? Now it's fakert. Saying bרכו during AsherYatzar? And the answer, believe it or not, is up to Chayadav in Klal Hey, Sif Gimel, yes. Since AsherYatzar is a bracha arucha with a psicha and a chsima, you're allowed to say any davar shebekadusha, bרכו, amen, the amen that you're allowed to say during Bechas Krishma, Kaddish and Kedusha during the actual bracha of AsherYatzar. If someone has a suffix, if he's mechuyev to AsherYatzar, what do? So Pashit, the Shulchan Aruch, Reish Tes Siv Gimel says suffix brachas lahakol. There is a shita that bרכas haydah is so chashiv that even if you're not mechuyev to say it, it's still a haydah. But the pais can reject that. So basically we should have a suffix, we don't say it. Now someone said, what you should do? Go to the bathroom again, and you'll say it for the first time. So I told him, you're not really gaining much. Like the mechaba, you have to say it twice. Plus, the Chavas Yom, Kor Chaim Siman Beis has a chiddush, which some doesn't agree to. But he says, if you force yourself to go to the bathroom, it's not a hana, there's no bracha. And last but not least, one point I wanted to mention, which I wish I had more time, but it's mamash eitza toiva kamashvalan. There's one sif in Shulchan Aruch, the longest sif in Gans Dal Chalke Shulchan Aruch, and that is where the Mechaba devotes Siman Vav Sif Aleph to teach the bracha of AsherYatzar. It's unprecedented. In fact, the Shulchan says, what, the Mechaba became a parsha and he's explaining Siddur? But not only he explains, it's the longest sif in Dal Chalke Shulchan Aruch, because there's so much in that bracha. There's so many pshatim. There's so much amunah, so much connection to Kadosh Baruch Hu. But it's a plea, like everything else, it becomes mechanical. Roifechol basu mafli lasois. AsherYatzar b'chochma im yipaseach im is the same. It's heart attack, stroke, aneurysm. It's a bracha. Halavai, we should say the bracha properly. Rabbi Matisyahu said he heard from his Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Leib Goritz, who was in Miri Yeshiva before the war, and there were maskilim that ridiculed Bnei Yeshiva. And they once made a skit, a play, and they called it AsherYatzar mention. And they made fun of Yeshiva Light, that all you do a whole day is sit and learn and go to the bathroom and say AsherYatzar. So they become AsherYatzar mention. So they were up in arms, they're going to be moicha v'kavod HaTorah. Rabbi Rucham heard about it, said, you know what, let me first say a shmooze, and then we'll be moicha. And he described, and it's printed in the Sefer, in detail, the nefloyis haboiri of the digestive system, and the end of it especially, how it gives out the waste. And that's when he said those words. If you would know the ness of going to the bathroom and you're coming out alive, you should go, Mama, send a telegram, Mama, I'm okay. He says there is such a ness in it, and the bracha is so meaningful that you should. That's like it's like mamish realizing that you had a mafi lasis. And then he got emotional. He says, "Ze rufunun's AsherYatzar mention. Halavai, we deserve that title." So I'll give you a haftacha and a school and a bracha all in one. If you learn the siman vav sif aleph, you'll become an AsherYatzar mensch, and you'll see the bracha. Good and talk to you all.
Shame Yitzar, I'd like to be a shikoyach, was missed for today's share. I would like to have the guests. Let's sponsoring a share called AsherYatzar 718-851-8651, email ist@yeshivanet.com. Chananya ben Akashim, Rotzak is Baruch L'Zachis, and so we Abram Torah Mitzvah Shem. Adonai Chofes Amal Tzidka Yagdol Torah V'Yader. Okay, Rabbi selections I all unser AsherYatzar mentioned to the Sikkim on today's Shir and AsherYatzar.
Good. I will. Okay, Rabbi said just the nature of the AsherYatzar is a bרכת השחר. It's interesting. Mitzarechot ASAP. Don't even delay it by a minute and a half. I saw from the Mishnah Berurah. But at the end of the day, if there's a reason to push it off, it could be pushed off. It could even be said hours later, as long as there's no need for a new AsherYatzar. The main thrust of it is the mafli lasois. We should be AsherYatzar mentioned and realize the beauty of the bracha. But basically, if a person wakes up and doesn't have to use the bathroom in the morning, you don't say AsherYatzar, not like the Ramah. If a person forgot and now he has to go a second time, so we do combine two into one. Napshat, he's potter, but he never lost the bracha. Lightning, bracha goes before AsherYatzar. As we said, you make it each time. It's not like a bרכת השחר in this respect because it's like goimel. Each time needs a bracha. We don't delay netilas yadayim of AsherYatzar because it's a ruach ra, so wash right away and say it right away. You're allowed to talk as you're drying your hands, as long as you're not pushing off the AsherYatzar. There's no din of takev, netilah, bracha. At least I didn't find anything like that. There are different minhagim when to say the bracha of Netilas and AsherYatzar. Some say it at home right away. Some say it after the second netilah in the bathroom, after going to the bathroom in shul. But if you do that, don't forget to make the first AsherYatzar at home after the first Yitziyah. Again, the point is that AsherYatzar can be delayed when there's a reason. Lamashal, during Berchas Krishma, you have to push off the AsherYatzar. During psukei dezimra, the minhag is to say it bein perik leperik, but we don't push it off because there it fits into the psukei dezimra. We can use AsherYatzar for smichos bracha in Tfilas Haderech, as long as it's not too much of a delay. After the Bרכho by מעריב, don't say AsherYatzar, or don't talk, certainly not, because then it's Birchas Krishma. During the Mosef Rosh Hashanah, you're allowed to say AsherYatzar if there's a need. Who are then during Plikas Chametz. Before a Suda, there are two manhagim, either to wash without a keli, AsherYatzar, and then wash till Yadayim, or wash once till Yadayim, dry your hands, AsherYatzar, and make hamoitzi, but not after the hamoitzi, believe it or not. The bracha Achreina is always after AsherYatzar, even bentching. Tzitzis after mikvah or shower is before the AsherYatzar. AsherYatzar is before Havdalah and their Chanukah. Until when? Until when can you say AsherYatzar? Until the next Yitzia. An Oinen can say AsherYatzar after the Kfura. In the middle of the night, make a strong effort to say AsherYatzar properly. After a mapel, AsherYatzar can be said. Dry one's hands, stand if possible, or sit when there's a more kavanah, not as you're walking to get rid of it, but say the bracha with full undivided attention. 3 times with the keli is recommended, but not a chiyuv. Davasha b'kedusha can be said in the middle of AsherYatzar. Safik AsherYatzar, we don't say. Someone pointed out, if you hear from someone else, you could rely on that, of course. I want to make one more point, I left it out earlier. If someone cannot say AsherYatzar but has a chiyuv, can someone who didn't go out make a bracha to be moitzi, the one that's mechuyev? Is Yatzar moitzi applicable? Is totally in our chakira. If it's a bechas hanenin, no. But if it's a bechas haidol, l'char, that would be the Yatzar, and our should all become AsherYatzar mentioned. Yes, good.
2 things.
Good.